And welcome back, everyone. The start of the other new series on the channel has begun. The Quirk Creation series. Now, the way the Quirk Creation series will work is similar to the Zanpakuto Creation series, but in a different way. In fact, it's actually kind of the counter opposite to the Zanpakuto Creation series. Where the Zanpakuto Creation series does not look at the abilities of a character, instead looks at the character themselves, how they handle themselves, um, maybe a little bit of their abilities can be tied in, but mostly you're looking at what represents this character, what is a sword type, an ability that represents this character, so forth and so on. Here, we don't have to do that. We can, because we have to look at the character if they were in the My Hero Academia world. So we can actually take their abilities and morph them into quirks in this series. So, with that said, the first candidate, or the first lovely participant for the Quirk Creation series is not going to be Naruto. Naruto will actually come later this month. I already did the Naruto one for the Digimon Partner series, so we're going to save him for later in the month. But is Luffy from One Piece? What would the quirk be from Luffy from One Piece? So the idea for the quirk of Luffy is obviously kind of simple. It's trying to turn his Gomu Gomu no Mi into a quirk. What would be the actual ability within the My Hero Academia world, and what would be, say, the weaknesses? All quirks have limitations. They're all physical abilities quirk. So not only did I actually decide to create the quirk, I actually decided to name the quirk. I think that you also got me, but also give their hero name as well. What would their hero or villain name be? So first off, Luffy's hero name, I think, is obviously going to be Rubber Man. I think he's got that personality where Rubber Man would be very much up his alley for the type of name he chooses. He's very bouncy, bubbly, fun, energetic. But that's his quirk. Sorry, his quirk's name is Rubber Man. His hero name, though, comes from some of the most recent chapters where he's unlocked. I think it's not. Is it fifth gear, or is he just awakened his Devil Fruit? Joy Boy. That because we've now learned that the Gomu Gomu no Mi is actually, I believe, the Nika Gomu. It's like the Sun Fruit model rubber. Or I can't. Hold on. I'm looking at the name of that specifically, just because I cannot remember what the actual true name of the Gomu Gomu no Mi is. I mean, it is the Gomu Gomu no Mi. It's the Gum Gum Fruit. But it is something, it is different than how we initially thought it was. Gomu Gomu, oh yeah. It's revealed that it's actually, so the Gomu Gomu no Mi is actually not a paramecium fruit. It's revealed that it's actually a mythical Zoan type Devil Fruit called the Hito Hito no Mi Model Nika, which we don't even really have I don't have because the Gomu Gomu no Mi translates to Gum Gum Fruit. And come on, where is the where is the translation, like the Viz translation work? Because that's the overall Viz translation of the Gomu Gomu no Mi, is the Gum Gum Fruit. But I'm not getting a translation for the Hito no Mi. I believe it's like the Sun God or something like that. Yeah, oh yeah. Transforms into legendary Sun God Nika and gains the attributes before being reclassified by the world government. However, is only known to the five elders, and the true nature and existence was never truly recorded. So I guess first off, the question actually is, to just go into my hero, One Piece lore, more or less, is that how do you go from rubber to more like the sun, but the fruit's true power remains dormant. The user's human body is limited to restrictions or transformations similar to that of paramecium. After achieving an awakening, though, fruit's true powers, the mythical zone is unleashed, giving the user a new transformation where their hair and clothes turn white, their eyes glow red with the white rings and pupils, white clothes float around their neck, giving them the appearance of a mythical sun god Nika, granting their already rubber body more strength and freedom, and turning the user into a warrior of liberation. Well, I mean, that's all well and good, but being the sun god, it would imply like you're basically you would be like using fire or something like that. That's what being the sun god would heavily imply. So when really it just allows him to have more freedom, ability, kind of have almost like a cartoon-esque like ability to just warp the world. You can actually one of the things that Luffy's imagination allows him is it allows him to use the Gomu Gomu no Mi in a creative ways, including kind of turning the world around him into rubber as one. Um, Being able to basically just take hits, take almost lethal hits at that point, and just kind of bounce them off. It's a very unique ability. So first and foremost, his rubber, his main quirk would be that his body had the composition of rubber. This will allow him all the abilities you see generally in the series, stretching his limbs, taking blunt force trauma. Now, the difference immediately, though, would be he can still swim. He can still swim because the devil fruits in I keep saying my hero, in One Piece prevent the ability to swim. That's one of all their devil fruits' weaknesses. We have yet to we've yet to meet a devil fruit that counters this weakness to water. I have to imagine it exists. I actually create a fun one when I did the Jack Sparrow in One Piece video. It's got the Rama Rama no Mi, the rum fruit, which lets him manipulate, turn into alcohol, all that. So it basically kind of gives him a special counter to liquid because he can just, the minute he hits water, because that's the thing, your devil fruit abilities can still work in the water. You just can't swim, as far as I know. So that'd be when he hits the water, he just turns it into rum and manipulates. It's like, sorry, mate. Such shenanigans don't work on me. Yeah, in the My Hero world, yeah, the weakness to water would not be a big issue for devil fruit users here, or devil fruit quote unquote users. But yeah, Luffy would have all his abilities, including the ability to like inflate his body into larger sizes. I think that's third gear, where he kind of does that. The only issue that I see with Luffy's quirk, as opposed to what it actually is, the Devil Fruit ability, is that there is no hockey or anything like that in the My Hero world. So you wouldn't be getting Gear 4 or the general version of Gear 5. At least not the same version of Gear 5, which is truly the Joy Boy Nika form. You'd basically just be getting lesser versions of those. Like, he in theory could still turn into like the bouncing man, the snake man, but it wouldn't be enhanced with his hockey at all. So you wouldn't get the armament hockey covering his body. He wouldn't have any of like his perception hockey or a conqueror's hockey. So no hockey exists there. But still, he'd have all of his abilities. The basic weakness, though, of being a rubber man is the fact that you'd still be actually very vulnerable to intense heat. Rubber does melt, and it melts at a pretty low temperature. Low, but in the sense that if you just hold rubber to fire, it will just eventually melt. Fire's hot, obviously, but we're not talking about extreme temperatures like the sun, or like Shoto could very easily melt Luffy if he's not careful. If Luffy's not careful. Endeavor could, Endeavor's got intense flames, but still. What was the other one? The girl who works under Endeavor who's got the green fire. I can't remember her name. Anyone with a fire-based quirk would easily be Luffy's Achilles heel. But someone like Kaminari, who's got an electric quirk, well, Luffy's actually his Achilles heel, because rubber is a natural insulator that can block high amounts of electricity. Any insulator can be overridden. You get enough electricity, you can override and melt rubber. Like if lightning strikes rubber will absorb it, but if you've ever noticed, like if you say got rubber soles in your shoes, rubber soles tend to melt after being hit by lightning. So they'll take a brunt of the force, but because of that, they melt. So rubber, while a natural insulator to electricity and lightning, and we saw that with, who was it? Enru, the one with the lightning Logia for Luffy was his natural weakness. And he was using some serious levels of lightning and electricity. Granted, Luffy also had training under his belt, and I think he I can't remember if he had access to hockey at that point. So Luffy, in theory, should be able to take a lot more electricity than Kaminari is able to dish out. We just don't know the sheer level of power Kaminari is actually able to dish out. That said, and like I said, his biggest weakness would be fire-based quirks or fire in general. Also blades. Even in the series, Luffy is not immune to blades. Rubber can still be... Well, Rubber is fantastic at taking blunt force trauma or blunt force blows. Piercing weapons, slicing weapons, that's still a weakness of Luffy. But I haven't gone into the awakening of the Devil Fruit yet. And the awakening of the Devil Fruit would basically be a variation on Gear 5. But I like the theory that because of what rubber is a kind of like resin. It is produced naturally, because rubber actually is produced naturally from trees. And the sap that comes in those trees I don't remember the actual manufacturing process of rubber, but I do know that rubber actually does come. I mean, we learned to manufacture things artificially, but rubber naturally came from like trees and stuff like that. So, trees are grown for like natural rubber. I believe it's the sap, and a lot of the sap that gets turned into rubber or resin, which also can be burned and have burning qualities, because resin is a fantastic way to create a set of fire or continue a fire because it's highly flammable. So when Luffy essentially awakens his quirk after, a serious battle or whatever the issue or whatever the cause to activate his quirk actually is, well then Luffy turns into Joy Boy. He turns into the sun god, and his rubber body takes on more of a resin-like form, where he is now superheating his rubber-like body. He's able to stretch even more. He's almost got a near liquid-like composition, but he's not able to manipulate reality like the paramecium or like the Zoan is actually able to do. He's not able to like turn the ground into rubber. He's just able to affect his own personal world, his own personal body in a much different manner. Now he'd be able to not only attack with all of his capable rubber abilities on a much higher degree, but he's also capable of attacking with intense heat as well. Not able to start fires like just do Endeavor or Shoto type fire blasting, but able to just being a superheated individual who, by touching something, might be able to start a fire, and who could burn, and is just and the more he moves, the more his body temperature raises until he's literally like liquid, hot molten rubber, basically. The problem here is just like in the actual series, where this would put a lot of strain on Luffy. This would put a lot of strain on his body to use the awakened form of his quirk. Now, I think his quirk could actually be very unique in an awaken, because when most people awaken their quirk, that's now their new norm. That's now their new normal base. However, this I feel like is like a Super Saiyan transformation kind of thing, where Luffy can now go into this even more awakened form, but it's not something that his body can hold on to for a large amount of time. So his awakened ability would be treated like a transformation, I believe. Still, but overall, it would be for my hero world, Luffy's quirk would actually be pretty powerful, because when you actually think of just his base level quirk of the Rubber Man, I mean, he'd basically have a lot of what Nomu has. It's absorption, shock, absorption, not nullification. That means there's a limit to what he can take, right? He'd honestly be able to probably go toe to toe with someone like Nomu for a little bit. Shigaraki would be still a problem. But he'd actually be like, if you inserted this Luffy into Class 1A, he'd probably be among the top students. He wouldn't be very bright in studies, but in terms of like actual combat capabilities, he could beat Mineta pretty good easily. He could beat the one with the tape. I can't remember. He could beat a lot of the low levels, no problem. He could probably beat Tokayame. Luffy, honestly, he could Deku. He could probably beat Deku, no problem. He could beat Kirishima. Honestly, the only people in Class 1A who I can think of that'd be an issue for Luffy would be Momo, if she wasn't being indecisive, because she could just make something to stop him if she thought about it. Shoto could probably still take him down without a great deal of difficulty. And Bakugo, because his quirk is an explosion flame, all kind of stuff. So ultimately, yeah, this is the quirk for Luffy of One Piece. Let me know in the comments below if you like this idea for the quirk. If you would do anything different with the quirk, what would you do different? Let me know in the comments below. But until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.